Data
Oh.
is presented by Tron, connecting the world to the power of cryptocurrency.
That Tron was supposed to be a fast network.
All right, guys. All right. Before we get started, I just want to say, Jen, you look really pretty today. I like your hair and your makeup a lot.
Stop it. Thank
Wow.
you.
I love
You
it.
look pretty every day.
Zach, you look great.
Great way to
All right.
start this.
Thanks, dog. You too. Love you.
Before the boys
Oh,
get
yeah.
jealous, we have to talk about somebody's, a famous person in our industry's hair. Just kidding. We're not talking about his hair. We're talking about his scandalous behavior because apparently U.S. criminal charges against Sam Bankman-Fried don't warrant dismissal, prosecutors say. So basically, his lawyers tried to get criminal charges dismissed, and these include technicalities around his extradition back to the United States of America and campaign finance violations. In May, he filed pretrial motions to dismiss most charges against him. His defense argued procedural issues, the relevance of some U.S. laws given FTX's non-U.S. location, and that charges exceeded the agreed extradition terms. I actually want to toss this to Jen. I know your hand was up, Zach, but I'm going to toss it to Jen because she's our legal person.
And I have nice hair today.
And she has better hair than you.
It's true. It's true.
Zach's got good hair. I don't know.
Yeah, it's true. I can't beat Zach on,
Both have
on
great
the
hair.
Thanks, Will. All right, let's get into the story. I think Sam Bankman-Fried has a good legal team. He understands what's going on. His parents are lawyers. And so we're going to see them kind of pick apart the technicalities of what's going on. I wasn't surprised to see that they didn't stick because what he is alleged of committing are really serious crimes that affected a lot of people. We're dealing with a large amount of money here, and I don't think it's going to go away based on some technicalities. But I do think that we can expect the team to continue to throw the ball, see what sticks, see what kind of charges they can get thrown out. I just don't think it's going to work for Sam Bankman-Fried. He is accused of some pretty serious crimes. Zach?
Lawyer's gonna lawyer. That's what I see when I see this story. They're gonna lawyer. This is the procedural dribs and drabs before the show goes live in October. We're all waiting for that season to kick off, and it's gonna be a big season. This is someone who's alleged to have done some pretty significant financial crimes. So the idea that they're trying to knock this down is, reasonable, right? They're trying to get their client the best possible terms that they can. Of course they're going to do this, but still, this is going to go to court. This is going to happen. This is going to be really wild to see what the defense ends up being and what the case ends up being. I think all signs kind of indicate hey, this isn't fraud. This is kind of negligence. Hey, we kind of messed up. Our bad. But we're going to see if that gets trotted out in the court of law, and it's going to be fascinating to see, honestly. So in the procedural steps, lawyers are going to do this stuff, but come October when it goes down, that's really when we see what they really have in store. But Will, what do you think?
Yeah, this article is really fascinating, so I encourage everyone to go take a look at it. Most of the points here made by Sam Bankman-Fried's defense is that the extradition treaty did not allow for the alleging of other crimes or tacking on other crimes after the extradition had occurred. The prosecution's coming back and saying, no, we can do that if there's consent given by the country that has extradition treaty with the U.S., in this case, the Bahamas. So it's going to be back and forth. The one alleged crime here that's really important is that $40 million check that Sam Bankman-Fried allegedly sent to a Chinese communist official in order to unfreeze certain accounts owned by Alameda, the research firm that was behind a lot of the intertangled funds between FTX and Alameda itself. So that, I think, is going to be a point of contention. Why? Because that headline caught a lot of people's eyes, right? So Sam Bankman-Fried obviously took a lot of damage, hurt retail a lot. But if you really want to go to a political level, just get the Chinese Communist Party involved, and you all of a sudden have every single person in the U.S., especially in politics, going to be jumping on this and giving their opinion. And if there's going to be some sort of talk about this, and the extradition treaty really is going to become important here. So we'll see what the judge ultimately decides, if it's going to be included or if not. To be frank, it almost doesn't matter from just looking at the facts right now if more things are tacked on, because at a certain point you just reach it where there's so many years onto a sentence that could likely be going against Bankman-Fried that it doesn't really matter. But I think the prosecutors are going to push as hard as they can. I'll throw it back to you, Wendy.
So two things. First thing is, I'm not like a big blame person, but in this particular case, we had a crypto assets company go overseas to run their business. The reason why they went overseas to run their business is because the public servants refused to give any type of clarity as to what a crypto asset is. And we've known that they haven't been doing their job since 2017. So really, the SEC is kind of to blame for this, and same with the CFTC and other types of public servant agencies. Also, too, I think the biggest thing here that they're going to go after is probably going to be the campaign finance violations. And I think that that's the most interesting part. The reason being is it's okay to bribe politicians. It's okay to lobby and to spend money that way. But then if you get in trouble for something, that's when they actually call you out. So it's going to be interesting to see if they keep this charge or they dismiss it, because if they do keep it, that's going to open up a whole can of worms, and it's going to cause a lot of issues and attention on that particular law and other people that may be doing unscrupulous activities as far as giving money to public servants.
I'll pick it up one more thought here, if I may do that. The commodities thing is also interesting here. So the defense is saying that Sam Bankman-Fried's FTX and Alameda Research were not under U.S. law in this instance for commodities because they're outside the U.S. or operating in the Bahamas. And that will be an interesting point to be brought forward by the prosecutors if they're going to push forward on what was like illegally being manipulated or not, what was being manipulated or illegally used by FTX and Alameda Research, because there is like that dispersion or like that geographic boundary between the Bahamas and the U.S. In this case, the prosecutors have always shot back, and they've already said that these markets are intertwined, and therefore what FTX was doing with commodities, probably Bitcoin in this instance, was impacting U.S. customers, so there is standing in that case. But I think that could have like long-reaching effects in other markets as well. Like if there's offshore exchanges are also trading Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies seen as commodities in the U.S., and this case goes and says like, hey, you guys were manipulating this commodity, that could have far-reaching ramifications for other exchanges. So I'm also looking to that point. We'll see what happens there.